So, back again to continue reading Think and Grow Rich, Chapter 1. The Strange Power of a Child. As we stood there in that musty old mill, Mr. Darby repeated the story of the unusual conquest, and finished by asking, "What can you make of it? What strange power did that child use that so completely whipped my uncle?" The answer to his question will be found in the principles described in this book. The answer in full and complete. It contains details and instructions sufficient to enable anyone to understand and apply the same force which the little child accidentally stumbled upon. Keep your mind alert, and you will observe exactly what strange power came to the rescue of that child. You will catch a glimpse of this power in the next chapter. Somewhere in the book you will find an idea that will quicken your reception powers and place at your command for your own benefit the same irresistible power. The awareness of this power may come to you in the first chapter, or it may flash into your mind in some subsequent chapter. It may come from a single idea, or it may come in the nature of a plan or purpose. Again, it may cause you to go back into the past experience of failure or defeat and bring to the surface some lesson by which you can regain all that you lost through defeat. So, as I said in the last video from chapter 1, your defeats can become lessons if you allow them to be. You don't just learn from your successes, you learn from failures too. Mr. Darby pointed out every time a prospect tried to bow me out without buying, I saw that child standing in the old mill, her big eyes glaring in defiance, and I said to myself, I've got to make this sale. The better portion of all the sales I made were after people said no. He recalled, too, his mistake in having stopped only 3 feet from gold. But, he said, that experience was a blessing in disguise. It taught me to keep on keeping on, no matter how hard the going may be. A lesson I needed to learn before I could succeed in anything. The story of Mr. Darby and his uncle, the child and the gold mine, doubtless will be read by hundreds of men who make their livings by selling life insurance, and to all of those the author wishes to offer the suggestion that Darby owes to these 2 experiences his ability to sell more than $1 million of life insurance every year. Mr. Darby's experiences were commonplace and simple enough, yet they held the answer to his destiny in life. Before there were as important to him as life itself. He profited by these 2 dramatic experiences because he analyzed them and found the lesson they taught. But what of the man who has neither the time nor the inclination to study failure in the search of knowledge that may lead to success? Where and how is he to learn the art of converting defeat into stepping stones to opportunity? In answer to these questions, this book was written. One sound idea is all you need. The answer called for a description of 13 principles, but remember, as you read, the answer you may be seeking to the question which has caused you to ponder over the strangeness of life may be found in your own mind through some idea, plan, or purpose which may spring into your mind as you read. One sound idea is all that one needs to achieve success. The principles described in this book contain ways and means of creating useful ideas. Before we go any further in our approach to the description of these principles, we believe you are entitled to receive this important suggestion. When riches begin to come, they come so quickly in such great abundance that one wonders where they have been hiding during all the lean years. This is an astonishing statement, and all the more so when we take into consideration the popular belief that riches come only to those who work hard and long. When you begin to think and grow rich, you will observe the riches begin with a state of mind, with definiteness of purpose, with little or no hard work. You and every other person ought to be interested in knowing how to acquire that state of mind, which will attract riches. I spent 25 years in research because I, too, wanted to know how wealthy men become that way. So, as we review that section, your mindset, the way you think, is very important. So if you're thinking about wealth and abundance and prosperity, if you're taking the actions to move you towards that, that mindset will help you. Whereas if you come from a mindset of poverty, you probably won't take any action to move you towards wealth because you're too busy thinking about how poor you are. Observe very closely as soon as you master the principles of this philosophy and begin to follow the instructions for applying those principles. Your financial status will begin to improve, and everything you touch will begin to transmutate itself into an asset for your benefit. Impossible? Not at all. One of the main weaknesses of mankind is the average man's familiarity with the word impossibility. He knows all the rules which will not work. He knows all the things which cannot be done. This book was written for those who seek rules which have made others successful and are willing to stake everything on those rules. So here we kind of talk about a philosophy for life, if you will. How you think and live and act as a way to go after what you want. Success comes to those who become success conscious. Failure comes to those who indifferently allow themselves to become failure conscious. The objective of this book is to help all who seek it to learn the art of changing their minds from failure consciousness to success consciousness. Another weakness found in altogether too many people is the habit of measuring everything and everyone by their own impressions and beliefs. Some person who read this will believe that they cannot think and grow rich because their thought habits have been steeped in poverty, want, misery, failure, and defeat. The unfortunate people remind me of a prominent Chinese who came to America to be educated in American ways. He attended the University of Chicago. One day, President Harper met this young Oriental on campus, stopped to chat with him for a few minutes, and asked what had impressed him as being the most noticeable characteristic of the American people. "Why," the student exclaimed, "the queer slant of your eyes. Your eyes are off slant. What do we say about the Chinese? We refuse to believe that which we do not understand. We foolishly believe that our own limitations are the proper measure of limitations. Sure, the other fellow's eyes are off slant because they are not the same as ours." The impossible Ford V8 motor. When Henry Ford decided to produce his famous V8 motor, he chose to build an engine with the entire 8 cylinders cast in one block, and instructed his engineers to produce a design for the engine. The design was placed on paper, but the engineers agreed to a man that is simply impossible to cast an 8-cylinder engine block in one piece. Ford said, "Produce it anyway." "But," they replied, "it's impossible." "Go ahead," Ford commanded, "and stay on the job until you succeed, no matter how much time is required." The engineers went ahead. There was nothing else for them to do if they were to remain on the Ford staff. 6 months went by. Nothing happened. Another 6 months passed, and still nothing happened. The engineers tried every conceivable plan to carry out the orders, but the thing seemed out of the question, impossible. At the end of the year, Ford checked with the engineers, and again they informed him they had found no way to carry out his orders. "Go right ahead," said Ford. "I want it, and I will have it." They went ahead, and then, as if by a stroke of magic, the secret was discovered. The Ford determination had won once more. The story was not to be described with minute accuracy, but the sum and substance of it is correct. Deduce from it, you who wish to think and grow rich, the secret of the Ford millions, if you can. You'll not have to look very far. Henry Ford was a success because he understood and applied the principles of success. One of these is desire, knowing what one wants. Remember this fourth story as you read, and pick out lines in which the secret of his stupendous achievement has been described. If you can do this, if you can lay your finger on the particular group of principles which made Henry Ford rich, you can equal his achievement in almost any calling for which you are suited. So, again, this is another story that talks about desire and, determination, sticking to that desire and seeing it through. Where some people might say, "Oh, that's impossible," like the engineers did. Ford knew what he wanted, and he, saw it through. He said, no matter how long it takes, let's do this. So with how much information there is, I'm gonna have to come back to this and do another video on chapter 1. So hopefully you found some value, and keep coming back for, more reading from this book.